I'm in the kitchen canning green beans today. Let me show you how. We have good luck growing green beans every year. I'm not sure of the technical name of these beans, but they are long and prolific. They are a vining bean that continues producing throughout the growing season. We have enough beans for 14 quarts, so that is what I will be canning today. I'm going to be using my All-American canner, which will hold 14 quarts at one time. The first time I used my All-American canner, I was intimidated. The sturdiness and newness of it just made me nervous to use it. But I have to admit, after I used it, I was hooked. I didn't have to worry about it exploding or having malfunctions. Today, it is all I want to use. I do still have my Presto Canner, and I'm not saying anything negative against Presto. I liked the Presto when I used it, but I have had lots of people say the Presto has exploded on them, and this even happened to one of my family members. So canning has always been one of those things that scared me in a sense. But I don't have to worry about that now with the All-American canner. They do make smaller All-American canners, but I do like canning double the amount in the same time. So I first started out with washing the beans and then cut them into 1 to 2 inch pieces. I also cut the ends off. If you have beans that have strings, you will need to pull those off too. Now, you do need to make sure that your canning jars are clean. I wash them in hot soapy water and set them upside down. I fill the jars with the beans and put as many inside as possible. I squish them in, but I also make sure to leave a 1 inch headspace at the top. Once you have the green beans stuffed into your canning jars, I add a teaspoon of canning salt and fill with non-chlorinated water. Again, I make sure to leave an inch of headspace with the water. It's time for the lids, but first you must make sure to wipe the tops of the rims. If there is anything obstructing the lids, even a tiny hair, it could cause the lid not to seal to the canning jar. Place the clean canning lids on top of the jars and then put on the bands. The bands should not be put on too tightly. Only tighten them to finger tight. Finger tight only means tightening them about 1/4 of an inch past where it screws on easily. Now back to the canner. I pour 2 to 3 inches of water inside the All-American canner. You don't want to put too much water in, and you don't want to put not enough water in. If you don't have enough water, it could scorch the bottom of the canner and ruin it. If you water bath can, you have to cover the jars, but with pressure canning, you do not need this. You must put a canning rack in the bottom. This will keep the jars from breaking. Then place your jars inside. You should be able to put 7 jars inside the canner. If you have the larger All-American canner, you will need to add a second canning rack on the top of the jars for another layer. Put the lid on. With the All-American canner, you have these bolts to screw onto the canner. It's easy to do, you just have to make sure to screw 2 down, which are opposite of each other at the same time. Turn the heat on. Now this will take a little bit of time, but you will see steam coming out of the vent pipe. When this happens, set a timer for 10 minutes. This will let you know the pressure has built up and is ready for the pressure regulator gauge. This number is all dependent on where you live and the altitude at which your location is. I am at 1,500 feet, so I am setting mine to 15 pounds of pressure. Yours may be different. Once it begins building up more pressure, the pressure regulator will start to jiggle. Wait for the steam gauge to reach 15. This is the time where you begin the countdown. Technically, for my altitude, I only need to keep the steam gauge between 15 to 17 for 25 minutes. However, I always can for at least 5 minutes more, just to be on the safe side. After that time has elapsed and the timer goes off, I turn the heat off and leave everything alone. I don't touch the canner for several hours. I let the pressure come down and I let everything cool off before opening the lid. 5 hours after I turned off the heat, I took the lid off, and as you can see, the water inside the jars are still bubbling. Remove the jars with a jar mover and set them on a towel on your countertop. Cover them with another towel and let them sit overnight. The reason for covering them is the air around the jars. If it is too cold, such as with air from an air conditioner, it's possible the jars could crack or break. The next day, make sure the jar lids have sealed, and then you can place them on your shelf for long-term storage. These green beans can last a year, maybe even 2 years, on your shelf. I hope this has helped. Always follow the instructions given in your specific canner. They are usually pretty detailed and can be easily followed. Thank you for walking with me through this process. Hopefully this will give you the courage to pressure can your food. SHTF Survival Homestead Teaching Farm thanks you for watching this video. Please continue to help us help you by liking, sharing, and subscribing.